Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're taking a closer look at something pretty important in personal finance, navigating those online payday loans, the ones that often say no credit check.
Hmm.
We've got some interesting material here, especially focusing on insights about a service called 15M Finance.
Right.
So our mission today, really just to cut through the noise, we want to pull out the key things you need to know if you ever find yourself needing cash quickly. Maybe you're worried about your credit score.
Be a common situation for many.
Exactly. This deep dive is really for you listening, aiming for, well, a clear, quick, and hopefully stress-free understanding of how this all works.
And the source material, like the info on 15M Finance, suggests it can actually be quite straightforward, easy and fast.
So if you've ever been in that spot, needing funds fast but worrying about credit, this is definitely for you.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, well, traditional lending often just closes the door on people with tricky credit histories,
Yeah.
or maybe no history at all.
Mm.
So what we'll explore is a different way of looking at it. It's more about your current income, your ability to actually pay back the loan now, rather than just a score from the past. And that's where it gets really interesting for a lot of folks.
Okay, let's dig into that then. This idea of no credit check payday loans. What exactly does that mean compared to, say, going to my bank for a loan? It's not just about getting the money faster, is it?
No, not entirely. It's a different philosophy, really. The key thing is they don't do that hard credit pull.
Ah, the one that dings your score.
Exactly. That's the one that can lower your credit score. Instead, these lenders like 15M Finance, based on the material, they focus elsewhere. They look at your income, your recent bank activity, basically your current ability to handle the repayment.
So more about the now than the then.
Precisely. They might use, a secure tech to verify your income stream, see regular deposits. It gives them a snapshot of your ability to repay right now. It's a game changer for people with, let's say, less than perfect credit or even no credit built up yet.
And these are typically for those sudden, unexpected things.
Yes, exactly. Things like, your car breaks down, an unexpected medical bill pops up, maybe even just making rent that month. Emergencies where you need funds fast.
Okay, so if that's the basic idea, what are the specific advantages the source material highlights for using a service like 15M Finance? What makes it a potentially good option for someone in that situation?
Well, speed is definitely a big one. Fast approval. The material suggests funds can be available often in as little as 24 hours, sometimes even faster, like same day in some cases.
Wow, okay. That's quick.
It is, and because of that real-time income check we talked about, it's built for speed.
And obviously the big headline, no credit check. Bad credit is no problem, as they often say. That must take a weight off people's shoulders.
It's a huge weight. It removes that traditional hurdle completely. Plus, the whole process is online.
Right, no need to go into a branch or anything.
You can just apply from your phone, your computer, wherever. Much simpler, less stressful for many.
And what about paying it back? That's always a key part.
Yeah, flexibility in repayment is another point mentioned. The options are apparently designed to sort of line up with your paycheck schedule.
Okay, that makes sense. Try to fit it into your budget cycle.
Exactly. And the overall process, it seems really streamlined.
Right.
Fill out a short form, verify your income electronically usually,
And you can get an approval decision very quickly.
often within minutes, yeah. Then an e-signature, and the money's on its way.
Okay, that does sound efficient. Let's maybe walk through that application process step by step, as the source describes it. You said it's super simple.
Pretty much. Step one, you just go to the website, 15M Finance's site in this case.
Okay, find the application, then what? Fill it out.
Yep, there's a short application form. Ask for the basics: name, address, that sort of thing. And crucially, your income details.
So not pages and pages of paperwork.
No, designed to be quick, just the essentials. Then, step three, you often get that instant approval decision we mentioned.
Right, no waiting around for days.
Hopefully not. Step four, if you're approved and you like the terms, you e-sign the loan agreement online.
Convenient.
And the final step, step five, the funds get deposited directly into your bank account.
So the whole thing seems designed for minimal hassle. No long waits, no endless paperwork.
That seems to be the goal, yes. Speed and simplicity.
Okay, but here's where we need to, maybe pump the brakes a little. These loans sound convenient for emergencies, but using them responsibly is absolutely critical, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
This is probably the most important part of the conversation. These are tools, and like any tool, they need to be used correctly.
So what are the key tips for responsible borrowing mentioned in the source material?
Well, first and foremost, only borrow what you actually need.
Not just what you can get.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's easy to think, oh, I'm approved for this much, but stick to the amount needed for the specific emergency. Don't add extras.
good point. What else?
Plan your repayment before you even hit submit on that application. Know exactly where that money is coming from in your budget and when it needs to be paid back. Have a clear plan.
Makes sense. And there's something about rolling loans over.
Yes, this is crucial. Avoid rolling over loans if at all possible. That means paying just the fee to extend the loan without paying down the principal.
Right, pushing the main payment further down the road.
Correct. And while that might seem helpful in the moment, it can quickly lead to what's called a debt cycle. You'd end up paying a lot more in fees over time, and it gets harder to break free.
So it can become a trap.
It really can. That's why transparency is key. The source material suggests 15 amends. Finance encourages this always. Always read the terms and conditions carefully. Ask questions if anything isn't clear. Make sure you are totally comfortable with the repayment plan before you sign anything.
That's really solid advice. Now, people naturally have questions, maybe some worries when they hear about these kinds of loans. Let's tackle a couple of common ones. A big one is probably, is this legitimate? Is it a scam?
Yeah, very fair question, especially online. The material we looked at positions 15M Finance as a legitimate lending service. But, as a general rule, for any online financial service.
We need to be careful.
Absolutely. Look for basics like HTTPS in the web address that she's means, secure. Check for contact information. Reading reviews from other users can also be helpful. Maybe look for state licenses or registrations, though that varies. Just do a little homework.
Good general practice for anything online, really.
Definitely.
Okay, another worry. What happens if I can't repay on time? What if something else comes up?
Yeah, life happens. The advice from the source here is pretty clear. Contact the lender's support team immediately, as soon as you know you might have trouble.
Don't just ignore it.
No, definitely not. Reputable lenders, and the source suggests 15M Finance is among them, may have options. They might offer an extension or work out an alternative payment plan. Communication is key. Reaching out early is much better than waiting until the due date passes.
So being proactive is important there.
Very important. It shows you're trying to resolve it.
Okay, so just to recap then, we've covered what these no credit check payday loans generally are, how a service like 15M Finance operates in this space, according to our sources, focusing on income, speed, online access, and crucially, those tips for responsible borrowing.
Right. And thinking bigger picture, the fact that these services exist and are growing says something about, well, the gaps in traditional finance.
Sure.
They're meeting a need for people who might be excluded otherwise. But again, it all comes back to making informed choices. Understand the costs, understand the repayment terms, understand the risks.
So hopefully this deep dive has given you, our listener, a much clearer picture, some useful knowledge to feel a bit more prepared if you ever face a situation where you need emergency funds quickly. And maybe it leaves us with a question to think about. What does the rise of these no credit check options really tell us about what borrowers need today? And maybe more importantly, what new questions should we always be asking ourselves before we jump into any kind of fast financial solution?
Good question to ponder.
Definitely something to mull over. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.